They can hear us, Andres. Okay, so guys, what we did was, Andres and or not Andres, but Maribel, she's on here listening as well, and Anne Marie, which is the support girls that were handling all the support tickets. They gave us some of the top questions that were being asked, and we wanted to go through some of these slides and just touch on some of those top questions first. And then Andre's going to go through a build, and then we're going to do a big Q&A, so you guys can ask us as many questions as you want. And no, well, sorry, one guy you were just asking me if I use XP Virtual on my Linux. No, it's Windows 7 on there, but it's just I had a problem with the audio. The audio is working, but I had already started the webinar, so we don't want to get into all that. But I'll be sure to ask any questions about everything. Yeah, it's being recorded, guys. Hopefully the audio is being all right and everything. Sometimes GoToWebinar acts weird. If it doesn't, we'll figure out something here. It should be working fine, though. The questions and everything that we've got here, just some of the top things that were being asked in support. So we wanted to cover all that, and then we're going to go through a build process, talk about some of the tips, tricks, tweaks, etc. that can be had, and then we want to hit the Q&A and answer everybody's questions so that everybody can start using SRPShaker to make some money here. And again, I'm saying we picked the top 14 issues we saw, from both Facebook and the support ticket system, and everything that Maribel and Ann could figure out that may have been a problem. Andres and I probably both touch on this. One of the biggest problems that, everybody's heard analysis paralysis, and it's running wild as far as our support ticket system and everything, because I think a lot of people have a problem with understanding how easy this really can be as far as generating income from these. And, well, you still see my screen, right, Andres?
No, I see it dark.
Okay, it's doing that on me. Okay. You can see it back now?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the virtual machine, guys. I love Linux. I don't know why GoToWebinar won't do anything for Linux. But, a lot of times what happens is, like in the support tickets, etc., that we get, you got a lot of people that want to change and tweak things and automatically do things different before they actually follow the way Andres and Maribel, myself, and everybody else that's actually used even Local Page Ninja prior to this, and now with SRPShaker. And really, we just need people to go out and do it the way that we're saying to do it at first, and not try to overthink it, I guess. I don't know, Andre, you want to touch on some of that?
Yeah, and not only just doing it the way we talk about, but you might have ideas of your own way that you want to do it. Do not be afraid to test those out. I mean, this whole process came about because I decided one day to just completely go against what I've heard and just test it out and see if something was really true. That something being the whole duplicate content stuff that you constantly.
Hey, Andres, let me cut you in. Is there any way you can get it any louder? They're asking.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me switch it out here.
Is this better?
I'll try saying something again.
Is this better? Can you hear me better like this?
Let's see. Some people say not much. Some people say worse. Some people say it's loud and clear.
How about now? Better?
Better, that's better, loud and clear, better, good now, yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Just speak loud, I guess, too.
So as I was saying, don't be afraid of testing new things. Don't be afraid of breaking anything, especially if you're doing this on a brand new site and you end up doing something completely different. Just run it as a test. Everything that you do, you should be thinking as, I'm testing this out. Let's see how well it works. So that's how the whole strategy came about. I decided that I was going to go against what I've heard about duplicate content and just try to do it. And at first I started on a small scale. Did it maybe for like 5 or 10 cities, but once I realized that it worked, I just kind of kept on pushing the envelope a little bit more and more, to where I started building really large sites with, over 15,000 pages of content, and it was pretty much exactly the same exact article on all 15,000 posts. The only thing that changed was the city name, and then, and it continued to work well. So it just made me figure that, everything you hear about duplicate content can really, be thrown out the window, or maybe it's just applied on a, if you're going for the main keyword, but when you apply the city, it doesn't really apply to it or not. Whatever it is, just don't be afraid to test. If you have a question, and you're wondering, I wonder, what will it do if I do this? Just go ahead and do it. It's a lot faster to go ahead and do it, test it out, put it out on Google, get it indexed, and then see what happens than, just kind of sitting around wondering. And that's the way I always like to approach things, is anytime I have a new thought, new idea, because of the plugin, it makes it so easy to put out such a large site so fast, I just test it. And, that's when it becomes, if you start doing a lot of these tests, it becomes important to make sure you're somewhat organized, so you know what little tweak you did to one test, and if it ends up taking off, then you know that it's something you want to explore a little further.
Yeah, so basically just want everybody, once you just go out and take action real quick, get the sites built, you can start tweaking and testing things too over time, but don't overthink everything to the point of where you're sitting there trying to analyze everything to try to think of all the ways you can make Google happy before you actually put out a site. Because frankly, we're not concerned with Google as far as what they think about this and everything, and obviously Google isn't the police. They don't own the internet. We don't care about their toss. So we only care about making money and making sure these sites actually rank well. So again, this is not typical SEO. Like we said, you have to change your way of thinking, and that's part of the way you're changing the way you're thinking is kind of, if you were going, I was saying this in the Facebook group, if I was going out right now and I had a company site, and I wanted to take that company site and I wanted to push it up in the search engine rankings, etc. Obviously, I would not take this plugin, I wouldn't, and put it on that corporate site and start generating a bunch of posts. Now I could take those sites, use this plugin, generate a bunch of posts, and generate a bunch of stuff on another site and push traffic to that other main site. But this plugin wouldn't be what I would use to push that corporate site up into the rankings. I don't know if you want to touch on anything there.
Yeah, the idea here, if it's a national company, then, and they do, they service, a lot of different cities, you could do that, but not, like Don said, not on their own domain, do it on other properties that you can then use to push traffic to that specific website, whether it's through the double agent plugin or the rental cert plugin, whatever you use to or even just, an banner ad that you have on the other websites. But when I build these sites out, I'm not trying to rank for one specific city or the large metro areas. I'm trying to rank for as many cities as possible. But even if if they end up being all the little small towns, but you've got 15,000 different posts out there, and out of those 15,000, 10%, 20% of them end up ranking in the first page of Google, there's a good chance that they're going to generate a decent amount of traffic for you. So that's why we started focusing on just going for, on every one of our builds, we go for a national setup. Is we try to squeeze every little bit that we can out of the little towns, and not really worry about if I'm ranking in big cities like Miami or a big city like Atlanta or Chicago. Obviously, once you have a site that's doing well, maybe you can do some of the traditional, typical SEO with, good backlinking and whatever if you've done local SEO before. But the main idea with these is to put them out as fast as possible, get them making money, and move to the next one. I've honestly put up sites and they've been up for a year. They continue to make money. I haven't touched them since a year ago when I put them up, and they've been very good sites. So there's no reason why you can't just build and go to the next one, build and go to the next one, and having to come back and tweak things. But that just depends on how you want to approach it.
Yeah, guys, I know you're putting questions in there in the question section, but just remember we'll touch them after we get through all these slides and through the build stuff. We'll go back to the questions and answers and everything because I don't want to jump from what we're doing in the slides to a question and answer thing and jump back because I think that might kind of confuse a lot of people. So we'll hit all those here towards the end, but you guys can keep putting them in there, and then we'll touch on them afterwards. Okay, this was a big question with the dynamic shortcodes as far as how they work. I think a lot of people, we've gotten tons of support tickets about that. And the dynamic shortcodes, really, there's nothing too complicated about them, except for the fact that there are some people I think are trying to put entire articles inside the dynamic shortcodes. And they're also trying to put them in different places that they don't belong, because these are only for the body of the content of the article or post or page or whatever you're making there, the actual content. The dynamic shortcodes can have spin text in them. I even think I mentioned to Kevin on Facebook that one of the cool things that you could actually even do to it is if you wanted to spin like different advertisements or something, you could put those in spin text, make a dynamic shortcode, and have those actually spin on the page and rotate. And then afterwards, you know, we're going to put an edit function inside those dynamic shortcodes. Right now, there's only delete, but if you actually deleted that shortcode after you found one of the banners for the offers or something that you're rotating on there actually converted really well, you could turn around and delete that and then just remake the shortcode with the same exact name again for right now, like I said, until we add the edit function, and only have that offer in there. So it's just mainly for content to change on the page if you put stuff in there and with spin tags, or for you to put any kind of thing that you would want to put on that you'd want to show up on every page in a specific area inside your content, etc. And I don't know, maybe if you have anything else you want to input on that, Andre?
Well, I mean, when we added this feature, the cool thing we thought of that we liked was the fact that you know, we could put in a highly spun paragraph, whether to use in the intro or at the end, and basically every time the page loads, whether it's for a human visitor or a bot, it's going to show a slightly unique paragraph. So we figured, you know, we did some testing and we figured that it would just make it seem as if it was updated content every time one time the bot would come through and they would see certain content on the page. The next time they would come through, it'd be slightly different. So that's what we liked about those dynamic shortcodes, and that's why we put those in there, because we were doing something like that, but it was just a manual setup that we were doing it. So with dynamic shortcodes, we kind of just included into the plugin itself. One thing to remember with the dynamic shortcodes, though, is that it needs to be sort of a generic paragraph. You can't put in the city or state or any of those other shortcodes in there, because it's going to show up on the page just as the squiggly bracket city, squiggly bracket state. So it just needs to be more of a generic approach there. Or if you do want to have something highly spun with city in it, then just add it as normal content to the post. You don't have to make it into a shortcode. Don, are you there? Seems like we lost Don. He's going to have a few seconds to see if he was going to jump back on. I don't have control of the PowerPoint, but I do have the PowerPoint right here next to me, so just move on to the next slide while we wait for Don to come back on. And we've got the next one that we did is one of the main things we noticed when people were testing out the plugin is that they would go and build the full site before actually, as their very first run. And one of the things we recommend is, as you're setting up your shaker page, your template page, you have the option to select the number of posts to build. So one of the things that I always do is when I'm building out my sites is I go ahead and put in, 10 paid posts in there so that I can, build those 10, test it out, go take a look at the 10 posts that were built, make sure that the links are working, make sure the images show up like I wanted to, any other shortcodes that I have, make sure that they're working okay. And once if everything looks okay with those 10, Then I'll go ahead and delete those 10. You have once you build the 10, the button's going to show as a delete build pages and post. So I delete those 10, and then I take out the number from how many you want to build, and I'll show this when I'm going through the example build, and you can then go ahead and build the whole website. So there's no reason why when you're testing some things out, that you have to build out the whole site, because obviously, especially if you're dealing with like a shared hosting, building anywhere from 500 to 1,000 posts is going to take a while, and then deleting them is also going to be a pain. So you save yourself a lot of frustration by just testing out in chunks of 10 or so. And if it works, then go ahead and move forward and build out the whole thing. The next one here is another thing that I'm going to show when I'm doing the test build.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, I gotta love it.
Welcome back.
So if it isn't the Windows issue with the stuff, it's AT&T kicking me off the phone. Somebody asked me how was the beer. I wish I went for a beer. I should have. I tell you.
I basically just continued since I've got the PowerPoint here. I don't know if you want to give me control. I can show them the slides here, or.
Okay, yeah. Let me give you control.
Okay.
That way, if something happens.
All right. Let me go ahead and make this a little larger. Now, for some reason, I'm on a Mac and my PowerPoint viewer is not working, so I just got it as a PDF here. But this is the one that I just touched on, to build a few posts first, delete, and then do the real build. We'll go much more in depth on this when I'm doing the test build. The next one that we're going to touch on is when you're working on your Shaker page. Always remember to save draft. It just we've been into a lot of installations over the past couple weeks since we launched, and we've noticed that a lot of the Shaker page you hit publish instead of just saving the draft. Nothing really is going to happen as far as messing up anything SEO wise. The bots can't access those pages or anything like that. It just kind of makes the plugin work a little funky. And if you do hit publish, I'll touch on how to get that back real easily as a draft. The next error that we noticed in a lot of installations is the blank lines in the shortcodes. And basically that just, the city, the state, state short, any kind of little shortcodes that you've got. This is not the dynamic, but the shortcodes that you use as a list. Make sure that there's no blank lines in there. Just a lot of times at the end when you copy paste something over, it tends to add an extra space. Just make sure you delete that. Basically that's going to give you some issues and lists kind of lining up the way they're supposed to, and you're also going to end up with, if you use that as a title, you're going to end up with some blank items in the title, which could lead to some of those duplicate posts, that's where you get -2, -3 kind of things on the title of the, or in the URL of the post. So if you look through your sitemaps, you see some -2s, -3s. It could probably mean that you've got some blank lines in there. Or another thing we did notice recently, one of the support tickets, is that you may actually have that same city twice in the shortcode. So that's just something to kind of keep an eye on. Another one that Don and I talked about last night is make sure that you're trying to use this for new sites and you're building new sites from scratch. That would just minimize the conflict issues that we've seen a lot from having a lot of plugins active or any other remnants, or if you have a site with posts already, when you do the shaker, it is going to kind of jumble the dates of all the posts, not just the ones built from the plugin. So it's just best if you build this with, brand new sites from scratch. The idea is to, build really large sites. So, you might take a risk by doing a really large site on another property or something that you have, and you don't want to do that.
Right. And also, we could touch on something real quick, because when we had talked to the support girls, there were some people that went in their sites and there was plugins that had multiple site maps, multiple other things that it did with every post, so it complicates the whole process. So you've already got 7 or 8 different database queries that happen every time a post is made inside of WordPress, which may or not make sense, but let's just say it's overhead right there. And then if you have other plugins that are constantly hitting the database as well, that's causing a lot of the stuff to time out or to go really slow. So your best bet is to start these from scratch, where you're just doing something like you've got the SERP Shaker plugin in, you've got the Yoast plugin in, and go from there.
Right, and like, especially the sitemap plugins, they usually are set up to ping Google and the other search engines with every new post built. So just think about, as you're building 100 posts at a time or so, it's pinging Google 100 different times, and it, that takes processing power away from the site, and that's why you'll notice, if you have that activated, you might only be able to do maybe 50 before it times out. So it's just best to have everything deactivated except for SERP Shaker and Yoast. And once the site's completely built out, you can put in whatever plugins you're used to using. There's just no reason to have them active while you're building out your site. It's just going to create some headaches for you. And we touched on this one. If it isn't a site from scratch, just make sure you deactivate all those plugins. You want to touch on this one, Don? Baby steps for
yeah, I mean, the biggest problem we have is a lot of people are talking about it. They can't figure out how they should monetize these sites, and until you get into the groove of things, I know Andres and I and everybody, we've talked about different things as far as lead gen and all that stuff, but the first things to start with are things like AdSense, CPA, where you can grab something really quick and test it out. Amazon's another thing, private affiliate programs that you can test out. Until you get comfortable with it, start building a site, start getting rid of any problems that you may have found or during the whole learning process of building these sites and getting successful ones running. AdSense, CPA, and Amazon stuff, things like that will actually get you the commissions quicker, especially AdSense and CPA.
I love AdSense, and I started out with AdSense because of the fact that, you don't really have to sell a click. I mean, a lot of these sites, people are looking for information. So, just having AdSense on, they come on. Usually the articles that we're using are not that good to begin with. So they're going to be hungry for more information. They're going to click on one of those AdSense ads to read a little more. And that was, that was my approach with that. And, so, but not just AdSense, but, any of those networks that you get paid for every click kind of thing.
Yeah, and that was something me and Andres was talking about as well. One of the things, like I was talking about somebody that was in a specific niche, and that niche itself, it was something where people were actually researching. It's not like they're coming to a site with their wallet open, ready to buy. It's something that they would end up researching and checking prices and doing stuff all over the place first. So the person had a CPA offer that was on it, and then he tried in the private affiliate program, and basically that was paying you per sale for this specific item. And that specific item, like I said, is something that you just know. It's almost like looking at a car. You usually don't run to the car lot. Sometimes if you're looking for it and buying the first, even if you know what model you want, you don't buy the car usually that same exact day. You're shopping around a little bit, or at least you're looking at a few different dealerships, etc., and checking pricing. That's exactly what this type of niche was. And when I said that to him, I said, this is more like an informational niche because people are going to research the product first. As soon as he switched that over to AdSense, it was making a few $100s a month. So.
And then the CPA is also good. I mean, there's just so many different networks, and there's so many different offers you can go through. I like CPA because usually people are coming to buy, depending on what program or offer you're going after, but they are looking to buy something. The way I like to approach it is, try to put a local twist to it. These are things that people normally buy online. I just kind of think outside the box and put a local twist to it. And with those, all you really have to do is you build out the site, and then you just have the image ads that the CPA networks give you, whether it's a top banner or the side banner or something in the content or all of them, like I've done for some of my sites. And then, you just get paid a commission for every one of those sales. Same thing with the private affiliate programs. There's a lot of them out there. Basically the way you find those is you just put in whatever the niche is, affiliate program, and you're gonna see what they are. But with how easy it is to build out these sites, you can try a lot of those different ones that you find and see which one's going to give you better conversions and which one's the best one to work with.
Right. So you could put things like in the sidebar, use those dynamic shortcodes, etc. In the ad manager, and if you find some kind of an offer that you're looking for, you're in a specific vertical, specific niche there, and if you find these offers aren't converting, look for another one in the same vertical or niche, try that one, and see if that works as well. Because CPA, the biggest problem you find a lot of times with CPA is a lot of times the CPA landing pages that you land on don't really sell the product very well. And then when you find one that actually does, like Andres was doing, what was that stuff like you were doing, you showed an example of?
The diet thing, HCG?
Yeah, so that was just something that was really, there was a good buzz going on about that to begin with. And so people were actually ready to buy. They were just trying to find out. I mean, most of your stuff was probably like where to buy and stuff, right?
Right. The local twist that I put on that is, here was the CPA program where they're selling HCG online, but I figured, if people are buying HCG online, they might be also trying to figure out where they can find it locally. So I made a site, HCG, buy HCG and with the city name. Now, obviously, the information that I was giving them was not going to take them to something where they can buy it locally, so I had to kind of entice them a little bit, where I think this particular offer, they had a discount or something going on. So, I said, there's nowhere, or I think I put a search box on that one where they can put in their zip code to see where they could buy it, which I really had no way of actually knowing what locations or anything like that. That was just to kind of give them the option of putting that zip code, but then that would take them to a page that told them, there's nowhere to buy HCG in this city, but you can also buy it online, and there's that discount going on now, and that's where I will have the offer showing up, and that worked really well. And then you can apply that same mentality to a lot of different things that you would normally buy online, and these are people that are looking to buy it locally, but you can kind of push them to go the online route, and you get commission for it.
Right, and that stuff, because it was obviously a buzz product. So I mean, how long do you think that thing actually lasted? It was producing really well. It's still producing some, but it's not as big as it was, right?
No, but I think I got a good year out of it, actually. And it was one of those where it was one of my first sites that we put up. I put AdSense on it, making maybe $30 a month on AdSense, if that. Decided to try one of these CPA offers, and it went to $900 a month of a single site, just because of the commissions that it was getting. And I used both a large affiliate network like Max Bounty, a CPA network like Max Bounty, and I also found a private one, and I just kind of put them all side by side, and they both did equally well. So I had one site with one site with the other, and they were both bringing in sales. So it's just there's no reason why you should kind of push the private programs to the side, because there are some good ones out there that pay well. Sometimes same affiliate, same commission split as the large ones, or sometimes even more, because they're trying to get you to promote their stuff. So just make sure that you look for those and try to find those out there.
Yeah, going things like Offer Vault, etc., which will show you all those.
And speaking of AdSense, no, a lot of people have said.
Hold on one second. You hold on, Andre's kind of breaking up there for a second. Try it again.
Okay, and talking about AdSense.
Yep, you're good.
a lot of things we've seen either through support tickets or private messages on Facebook is that that they can't do AdSense because they've been banned, and they just can't do it anymore. And there's no reason why you can't open up a new account. The main things that you need to keep in mind when you're opening up a new account is make sure you have a BPS, or no, is that's the right thing, right? BPS, where you can log in through another computer. Don, are you there?
What's that? Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't know you were asking me that question.
Oh,
Don, proxy or anything that you can go into, so you can just go through a different IP or whatever and sign up. But
right, but I like the BPS route because it's you know, that way you don't have to clear cookies or anything like that anytime you log in. Basically, a BPS allows you to use like the remote control, remote login, remote desktop. That's what I'm looking for. Remote desktop that comes usually on the Windows computers, and you can just log into that computer and you sign up for the new AdSense account through there. So it just looks like it has no connection to you whatsoever. You can actually use the same name, the same address. The only thing that you need to do is maybe change the spelling a little bit. So if it's like First Street, and the first time you signed up, you know, you use 1ST, then, you know, just spell out first and spell out street, because they're going to, you know, send you that postcard to verify the address. So just little things like that. You just need to tweak it a little bit.
And you've went through like 4 of them, right?
Yeah, I've got, at the moment, I have 2 active AdSense accounts, one under my name, one under my business. And I've had 3 that were shut down. I want to say 2 or 3 that were shut down. The first one that was shut down was, it was my first time on AdSense. I didn't know about the terms of service pages and privacy pages and all that. So they shut that one down. The other 2 was just me trying to figure out what I needed to do to get the extra accounts without getting caught. So that's where I started figuring out, you know, you just change the spelling a little bit and you know, change a few things up and make sure that you do the BPS or the private proxy route so they can't link it to your name, which that was my mistake with the other ones, that they eventually did link them up. But I've had the other 2 going for over 2 years, I think now, and haven't had any issues with them. So
it's kind of funny because you had said like it was the privacy policy and stuff that had gotten you banned first time around, and a lot of times you see a bunch of people online that are talking about, I got my AdSense account banned, I got banned, and a lot of times it's not typically the content or the made for AdSense sites like people say. It's usually something that's really subtle, but Google isn't real helpful on telling you what it is, but a lot of times it's just forgetting something like that, because my account for AdSense is from 2003 still, and that account has never been banned. And it's funny because I have thrown some of the biggest piles of crap sites up for AdSense, and they have never done anything to me. And I mean, some of these things, when I was doing some stuff with manipulating Yahoo years ago, I was getting CTRs that were just insane. I mean, I was doing like 60–70% CTRs, you know, the click-through rates, and I thought for sure I was going to get banned, and they never did it. So it's usually, I mean, usually it's not so much the content, I don't think. I think it's usually just something that you forget, and they just aren't very forthcoming on what that is.
Right, and at least I think what they're doing now is they're actually banning websites before they ban your whole account, or they'll give you a warning or something like that. AdSense is not my main earner now, but it's still something that I keep on certain sites because there's just certain sites that are better for AdSense than anything else.
Well, especially if you got something ranking like that diet stuff, where eventually the CPA offer either goes away or it isn't paying anymore, and you're still mainly focused on that, you could always throw AdSense on that or something else like that.
Right, right. And there's also media.net. That's a little bit harder to get approved for, but that's another option. And I've seen decent CPCs on media.net. Plus, I know there's a few others, but they don't compare to AdSense at all as far as how much they pay.
one of the funny things is I think that Google's actually being a little bit less restrictive on their AdSense now because of some of the things they're doing with the ad network and everything. I think they're starting to understand that it doesn't matter as much how the traffic gets there as long as it does, and it's legitimate traffic. So I think they're getting a little bit easier on it because I haven't seen people saying they're getting banned left and right, at least that we're doing things relatively right in the last year or so. A lot of times, though, like I said, when you look at it on a forum and everybody's going, my AdSense account banned, my AdSense account was banned, typically there was more behind it than that. They just don't really, they don't really know what it was either, but there was usually something else that Google was looking at. Not saying that you won't get banned just out of the blue for anything anyway, because obviously Google feels they pretty much can do whatever they want, and they can when it comes to that respect. But you know, I don't think they're as restrictive as they used to be as far as that goes, though.
Mm-hmm. And CPA networks. What did you want to touch on that, Don?
And I just put it in there because we were talking about the different types of monetization people should try first. But with the CPA networks, obviously it's nice because you have so many different offers and verticals to try. The only problem, like I was saying before, is that you have to kind of look at the landing page, see what's going on, because a lot of these things aren't conducive to actually producing conversions as far as the landing page. Some of them rely on a pre-sale, some of them don't. Some of them are already carried. They already have the pre-sale done just because they already have a buzz all around the web, all around on TV and everything else. So you don't have to actually produce that, but it's just a lot of things for CPA networks. A lot of those ads you're going to have to try out. And I know a lot of people have trouble getting, a lot of people in the past have had trouble getting accepted to CPA networks, etc. But never really seen where that's actually a problem as long as you have a decent website to show somebody that looks okay and you actually sound at least like you know what you're talking about as far as how you're going to drive traffic. You're going to drive a lot of traffic organically. You might drive some stuff later on with pay-per-click advertising, things like that whenever you talk to them. I haven't actually had to call into it. Go ahead, Andres. I was just
sorry.
No, I was just going to say I haven't called into one for a long time to get an account approved because my accounts are so old, but go ahead.
No, the main thing with that I've noticed with the CPA networks is they want to make sure that you're a real person. So if you can get them on the phone, or sometimes they'll ask for the phone number, and make sure you give them an actual phone number, because some of them are going to call in and talk to you. So as long as they can make sure that you're a real person, they're going to get you set up. And if any of you ever have issues with Max Bounty, I can always talk to my rep and have you go through him. Because I've had my account at Max Bounty for a while. I haven't played around too much with the other networks, just because Max Bounty I've had success with, but I know there's plenty of them out there, and they are very easy because a lot of times they always provide some kind of banner and images already made, so you don't have to worry about doing that.
Yeah, just when you talk to them, they'll call those creatives, just so you know.
Right. They're creatives, and they usually have good statistics to show what the EPC or the earnings per click are. So you try to pick one in that specific category with a decent EPC, so you know that one's like people are actually making money with that offer. And once you're in, become friends with your rep and let them know what you're doing and how you're going to apply the local twist. And they'll actually reach out to you whenever they have new offers that kind of fit with the model, because that's how it is for me. I've got my guy on Skype, and he'll send me a Skype and say, we've got this new offer. I know you're good with organic traffic. See what you can do with it, and so I'll test it out. And sometimes I'll get a winner, sometimes not. But at least that way, he already knows what kind of site I put out, so he'll reach out to me, and I don't have to kind of be paying attention to what's new out there.
And that's actually a lot of problems that a lot of people have when they start out with a CPA network. They're like scared to talk to their affiliate manager. Trust me, your affiliate manager wants you to make money because he makes money from you making money. So don't be afraid to talk to them. And they sometimes they'll have offers that they know are converting that they won't even show in the list, and might bring it to you because you were doing pretty well with some other offer in the same vertical or niche. It might be an offer that they brought in from an advertiser that they're testing, and they only give it to certain affiliates. You won't even see those in the list. Oh yeah.
Google is not the internet. Don't focus on whether Google likes you or not. We're not trying to be best friends with Google. Don't be afraid of pissing Google off, pretty much, is what we're trying to say. You know, we just because we're doing things that are a little bit, I guess, on the gray hat side of things, don't be concerned with, you know, getting a site slapped, getting a site that, you know, just gets completely taken out of the search engines, because that's just one domain. You know, you can just pretty much, I've had sites where they were ranking, and I think at the time I was doing some backlinking, testing some backlinking to see if I can get it to rank even more. It was probably right around when they did one of those updates where you couldn't do a certain type of backlink, so it got my site to get completely, you know, get one of those -50, -100 penalties. And all I did was I purchased another domain, put up the same exact content, and within a week or two it was ranking again. So, you know, don't be afraid of testing new things. Don't be afraid of doing things our way. Don't be afraid of duplicate penalty things like that.
The only thing I'll tell you, though, is if you're doing something like, say, for instance, like ClickBank products, don't use a bare affiliate link. Use some kind of a redirect, because I, for one, know from experience that a bare ClickBank link will get you penalized a lot of times. I had a site in one of the old niches that I was in all the time, which was reverse cell phone lookup, that actually took a big hit when I put bare ClickBank links on it, and then when I changed it and actually did a redirect instead to it, it all of a sudden came from, it took a penalty that was insane. It went all the way down from like the second spot on page 1 to like 530. When I took those links off, about a month and a half later, it was back at number 2 again. So when I changed them out. So I mean, but the thing is, but the funny thing is, I've never ever out of thousands of sites that I can remember ever had a site completely de-indexed. Although I know other people have. I don't know what they did or what the reasons were, if it was a competitor or what. I've had things penalized plenty of times playing with Google, but I've never had one de-indexed. But I did buy one that was de-indexed before by accident. Actually, it was something that me and Brian Zimmerman, the guy over there that owned, one of the owners over at JV Zoo, was a site that we were messing with, and he had bought the domain, and then I looked it up later. I couldn't get it to index for anything, and I looked it up, and I saw it was like a scammy site at one point in time when I looked in archive.org, and it was actually funny because that thing was de-indexed, but it took about 6 months, but it was basically a shaker site that was put out, and about 6 months later it came back and it was in the index and ranking. So just one of those odd things. But the thing is, well, like the whole point we're trying to get here is that, like, I've literally had support tickets in the past where people thought Google was the internet. We don't care whether Google penalizes a site or does something later. Once you find a vertical that's working for you, you're continuing to build sites in that vertical. So if one of them gets hit, you've always got more of them coming out that are taking their place.
Right, and you know, the way these sites rank, you know, it's not based on backlinks. It's based solely on the content. So in essence, they would have to change their whole algorithm, not just put in, you know, one of those penalties or anything. They would have to change the whole way that they read web pages for this to not work. And you know, we've been doing this for you know, ever since LPN came out, and before then, because before
that, because you were experimenting with it, and I was experimenting at the time too, so we know that it worked forever.
We were doing it manually. We just didn't have an auto way of doing it. But and you know, one thing you said, you mentioned the word play with Google. This is really how I approach it. This is a game, you know, and we're just playing with Google and see what works, what doesn't. But you know, if they don't like something, don't get upset about it. Just put out another one. Don't do that certain thing again, or you know, whatever it is. And a lot of times, it's not even that you did something. It's just for some reason or another, maybe the domain you purchased that you thought was brand new actually had some history years ago, and you know, you're getting penalized for it. And I've had instances where that's good and bad. I've picked up domains, you know, brand new through Namecheap, and it ends up doing really well. And then when I do, you know, kind of some looking into it, I realized that it was previously, you know, and had some PR and whatnot, and it had dropped off, but that was years ago. And then also on the other hand, I picked up domains that were brand new. They don't go anywhere, and it turns out that they had some kind of spammy site like you mentioned. So don't get discouraged if you have one fail out of the gate. Could just be the domain name, and it's very simple to just purchase another domain and even put up the same exact content and see how well it does. With this one is kind of on the same thing is you want to focus on getting that traffic. Start putting out sites. Put some kind of analytics on it, whether it's a Piwik or whatever program you like to use. We normally try to stay away from Google Analytics. Because, yeah, we don't try to give them too much info. But I mean, I do have quite a few sites with Google Analytics on them because that's what, when you go to flip it, that's what they're looking for. Usually the buyers, they're interested in that in the Google Analytics. And even though I've had Piwik on them or Piwik on them, they always like to see Google Analytics. So if I notice that a site's doing pretty good and I'm getting close to the year mark, then I'll start putting that Google Analytics on it. I haven't had any issues with it, but I have heard of some weird things that other people have had the second that they put Google Analytics on there. So, but Piwik is a good option, or any of those other ones that are tracking traffic, even just going through AW stats on cPanel. You just want to see that it's getting traffic, it's getting hits. Once you find some, once you learn of a niche or of a certain way of building the site that's going to get you traffic, finding the offers is easy. I mean, there's tons of offers out there, tons of banner ads and that kind of thing that you can put out there. Even if it's just AdSense, just putting AdSense on the site after the site is built is very simple to do via various plugins or the ad manager that we have. If you added some kind of placeholders once you built out the site, but just focus on figuring out how to get that traffic. Making the money from the traffic is the easy part. I think most people starting out, they just have such a hard time getting traffic. They focus on making the site pretty. They focus on making sure that everything looks okay. Whereas I'll put up sites just on the main 2013, 2014 theme that comes with WordPress, and I'll just put them out there just to see if it gets any traffic. If it does, then I start working on making theme changes and making it look good. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to waste my time and make it look nice. And I've had a ton of sites where I just happen to have a template on my local computer here where I'll put up the site and the banner up top will say something completely different what the site's about. But and sometimes my sister, who's my assistant that helps me out building the sites, she'll find sites that have this banner on the top that's completely different from the rest of the site, and she'll be like, what's this about? And I was just, it's just a test that I put out, never got any traffic, so I'm not going to bother changing the banner or anything like that. So I've got a ton of those out there where they just never took off, but I never wasted the time making them look nice or having that perfect offer. I just put it out.
Well, another key thing there is you got to remember, when that site didn't take off, you didn't spend a bunch of time over analyzing why it didn't take off.
Right. By the time that I realized it wasn't going to go anywhere, I already had another 10 sites out. So that's really the main idea, is just kind of keep on putting things out. And also another thing that I found is that even though something may not take off right away, there's a good chance 3, 4, 5 months down the line, it is going to start getting some traffic. And I've had that happen quite a few times now that I've been doing this for a while, where a site will get 5 visits a month and go to 300 to 500 visits a month out of the blue. And so and usually it could be because that's around the time that Yahoo and Bing actually pick up things because they're so slow. But you can.
They're extremely slow.
You can end up with some good producing sites, so it's good. That's why I like the Piwik, because I can add all of my sites to Piwik and never have to I can see everything in one screen and instantly see when a site like that has a big jump, and then go in and make the changes that I need to.
Well, we'll take that actually for one thing, just to touch on Bing and Yahoo. It's kind of funny because some of the sites that were making a bunch of money in this one vertical that we had, they actually had about a month where they weren't making anything. They were making money consistently for 3-4 months, and then all of a sudden they weren't making any money. And then Yahoo and Bing decided to pick them up about 5 months later, finally, and all of a sudden they're making more money than they did when Google had them. So it's just kind of funny how that stuff sometimes works. And Bing and Yahoo are extremely slow.
Right.
They're quick at coming to your site, and Bing will come to your site with its crawler and beat your site to death, make your server cry, because it's almost like a DDoS attack, the way that their bot sometimes crawls a website. But then it takes them forever to actually add all those search results into the search engine.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed as well too. Next one on here is keywords, and I know a lot of people are concerned about, what keywords do I use, which specific keyword I go after. The way I approach this is I try to, instead of just hitting one keyword, I try to kind of get all the supporting keywords in as well. And I really don't do keyword research when I'm building out sites, because I found that the numbers that Google will give me are nowhere near what I find when I do the actual testing. So basically, when I was starting out, I just had to kind of change the way I came up with ideas, and I would pretty much use, anytime I got in the car, that was the time that I would start brainstorming on keywords, because as I was driving around and I saw billboards or I saw something, I would think, hey, I think I can put a local twist to that. So anything and everything that you can put a local twist to is something worth testing. Now, for your first couple sites, if you want to do keyword research so you can be sure you have something that's somewhat of a winner, then yeah, do keyword research via the AdWord tool or any other tool you use. And basically, what I like to do is, I like to start with the national keyword, so no city or anything attached to it, and just make sure that it has at least, like 10,000 searches or so, because basically what that's telling me is that national term's getting 10,000 searches. Out of those, in that national term, there's got to be a decent amount of people also looking for it locally, attaching the city name to it. So there's enough traffic there that I can get out of those 10,000 searches or whatnot to drive traffic to my site. But after you have a good 5 to 10 sites that are doing well, you can start just experimenting with random things, whatever comes up to your head. Doesn't even matter if there's an affiliate program for it or not, because then you can, if you end up not finding one, you can just throw AdSense on it and still make money out of it. Or if it is getting a good amount of traffic, but there's no affiliate programs and it happens to be like a local business, you can then collect leads from it, or even just turn around and sell it to a local business and say, listen, I've got this site, that's getting all this traffic. I don't really need to do anything with it. Are you interested in receiving this traffic? And if it's a company, that they can service a large area or even a national area, then they'd be happy to take that, because you've got traffic and they don't.
Right, and then and the thing with the keywords, a lot of times, like when Andres was touching on that with the local stuff, the local keywords, it's abysmal. If you go into the keyword the ad planner inside of Google, it doesn't give you anywhere near correct stats on local keywords at all. So when he was talking about, excuse me, when he was talking about touching things with local keywords and doing things like that, a lot of times you can look for keywords that have a decent search result, or searches per month. A lot of things that you might not even think of targeting, because you might have thought about staying around things that had a 2,000 a month search or 500 a month search. A lot of times you can hit those 10, 15,000, 20,000 a month search keywords because you're putting that local twist or some other kind of twist on the actual phrase, and you find that you end up ranking for it really well.
Right, and don't worry about competition. You're not going after that national keyword. You're not going for that main keyword. You're going for all the little cities, and those are the ones that are going to bring you traffic. So when
Yeah,
most people,
you're actually looking for smaller. You're going to get lower traffic to many of these sites because you're looking for smaller, high converting traffic.
right, right, and what you've probably learned about keyword research is to, as soon as you find a keyword, put it into Google and try to find the competing sites and whatnot. So most people that are targeting, those keywords, they're going for that main keyword. We're going for the longer tail, um, and we're just doing it on a large scale instead of doing 5 to 10 long tails. We're doing 10, 15,000, 30,000 of them. So we're bound to get decent traffic out of it from all those little towns and cities or zip codes if you're doing it that way. Um, and then
Oh,
just
oh, go ahead.
no, it just this
Sorry.
just goes into the whole testing thing. Don't be afraid to test things. Just if it's a keyword, and then obviously there's going to be niches that are more competitive than others. Local businesses just seems, anytime you do something with local businesses, obviously there's going to be a lot of local business websites in each little city, so it's going to be a little bit more competitive. But I've had good success with local businesses. But the best thing is to always kind of think outside the box and try to find a way to get that local twist on it. There's I guarantee that there's always going to be a way to put a local twist on something. It's just a matter of kind of once you do it a few times, you'll get better at it and realize like things that you probably wouldn't even think about putting in a local twist. Sort of like that diet supplement. Most diet supplement websites out there are not targeting local cities. They just go for that main keyword. I target the local city. Now you'll see it. Now you see a ton of websites targeting local cities with supplements. But before I did it, there wasn't that much out there.
Yeah, I just want to hit on one thing that I see that's always like this humongous mistake that drives me crazy. A lot of times, like Andres, I think he even said it in some of the videos, how you'll link out to another site that's related to like the specific topic you're talking about, right? Like a wiki article or something like that that's related to the specific topic of the site that you're doing. But what I find a lot of times is some of the keywords that people would like to rank for, they're actually taking those keywords and linking to those other sites with those keywords. You need to link to them with generalized stuff because all you're trying to do is build relevance back to your site for whatever that specific topic was. So if I'm talking about weight loss here and then I link out to a wiki article, and let's say I'm trying to rank for weight loss, we wouldn't go for a keyword so tough as just weight loss, but just for this example, if I had a site that was about weight loss and I'm trying to rank for weight loss, I would not link out to a Wikipedia article on weight loss with the keyword anchor text weight loss. I would link to them with some other generalized text, usually in my or some other related keyword or something or phrase to that wiki article, but not try to boost their rankings for that. I'm trying to raise my ranking. So the only thing that wiki or whatever I'm linking out to is just building relevance for my overall topic on my site. But I'm not trying to boost their rankings for the specific types of keywords I'm trying to rank for. If that made sense.
Yeah.
That was a little bit complicated to explain, but.
And I can touch on that as we're doing the build. I know exactly what you meant by that. Finally, the find verticals that work. Once you find a vertical that works, then you can just attack it and continue, building out websites in that vertical, just targeting different sectors of it. What we mean by that is, for example, I found out that the HCG approach worked with the diet ones. So then I found, what the next offer, what the next supplement was, and I made a website on that. I found another supplement, made a website on that. And then you can always just kind of pay attention to see what's coming out next. So once you find something that you've had good success with, just find out how you can put a twist to it so you're targeting something else, but in that same kind of vertical, same setup. And it makes it easy to just kind of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So anytime you find something that you have,
I was just saying
Anytime you have something.
some of the, hold on one sec, Andre, because I was going to say some of the stuff that we did with, when we were talking about Cloudflare before, some of those things like the HCG diet and stuff like that, because of the fact that you're masking the IP of this, and this is what I was talking about in the Facebook group where you didn't need multiple IP hosting anymore with things like Cloudflare, is sometimes you can build sites that are specific to the same exact offer again and actually cover more real estate on the first page.
Right, right. And I have, I think in some HCG searches, you'll actually find 3 or 4 of my websites on there, even though...
I find them in a lot of the verticals that you're in. I find a lot of the stuff where you have sometimes 7 spots.
And that, and that's because, if I find something that works, I wanna dominate that first page.